Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stay in the loop.
But, you know, I look at like what Urban did at Utah, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look what he's doing with no talent at Utah. Imagine what he could do if he got a hold of unlimited facilities and unlimited, you know, resources like he does at Florida. And look what's happened. That's kind of how I'm thinking with Kelly. I'm just looking at this and I'm saying his average recruiting class was 79. He's about to get unlimited talent, unlimited resources. Schwarberg even came out and said in his press conference, hey, what can I do for you? You know, sometimes I think we get too wrapped up in dissecting the recruiting and all this crap. Like, sometimes I think we break down running backs and stars and talent. It's about W's and L's.
Here's an interesting question, I guess point. I think that one of the things that, is it fair that he almost has to, like, he has to cleanse the sins of the 3 people before him, you know? Like,
Just my interpretation of the situation.
Willingham left Notre Dame in a complete shit position.
He did, but he was a better coach than Weiss.
He was
a better coach. But Weiss is leaving it better because he's left more talent. I agree.
And he's selling guys on the right thing, which is come to Notre Dame because it's going to make you a good person. And, you know, Kelly said a lot of the same stuff. I want guys that are nasty on the football field and gentlemen off the field, you know, who are outstanding citizens, who are getting popped for hookers or whatever. You know, I mean, you guys aren't passing out
3 felonies, that's
guys who want, you know, and it's like, I mean, part of you wonder, it's like part of the reason Meyer's having a meltdown. You know, they lost Alabama, his world comes crashing down. He has all these expectations. He, you know, the devil's coming asking for his soul back. You know, he's sending text messages in church to recruits.
Yes, as the plot thickens, it gives me the Dickens reminiscent of Charles. A little discotheque nestled in the ghettos of Niggerville, USA, via Atlanta, Georgia. A little spot where young men and young women go to experience their first little taste of the nightlife. Me? Well, I've never been there. Well, perhaps once, but I was so engulfed in the OE, I never made it to the door. You speak of hardcore. Why the DJ sweating out all the problems and troubles of the day? Why this fine, bow-legged girl harness all like those loves, lukewarm lullabies in your left ear, competing with set it off in the right. But it all blends perfectly. Let the liquor tell it. Hey, look, baby, they playing our song. And the crowd goes wild as if Holyfield just won the fight. But in actuality, it's only about 3 a.m. And 3 niggas just done got hauled off in the ambulance. 2 niggas done start busting. And 1 nigga done take his shirt off talking about, now who else wanna fuck with Hollywood Cole? Yeah.
Stay in the loop.
It's like Tiger Woods. You see what it takes for him to he constantly has to live on that edge at that level. You know, it's not to make excuses for him, but it's the same thing. You see all these really successful guys, and then what they have this one thing that they can do extremely well. Tiger Woods can play golf better than anybody in the world, and Urban Meyer could probably coach college football better than anybody in the world. There's just one thing that they can focus on, but everything else is just chaos.
Yeah.
But for that, you know, for that quarter mile or less.
I had a question for all 3 of you, and I wanted each of your takes on it real quick, because I have a strong opinion on this too. What do you think about Kelly's defense from what you've seen, what you've read? Like, what is your opinion? I mean, regardless if it's Diaco or if it's Chuck Martin, I mean, Kelly's responsible. Like, what are your thoughts? I know
It's just my interpretation of the situation.
I think as a head coach, I think you're liable and responsible for every facet of your team, which is why the defense is ultimately going to fall down on him, even if he's not running it. As for what I've seen from Cincinnati, nothing impressive. But a lot of what coaching and being a leader is putting the right people in the right positions. So as long as he finds a good defensive coordinator that knows what he's doing, that can run it by himself, have almost full autonomy and just be responsible and liable for that back to Kelly, I think that's all you really need. So as far as his involvement in the defense, I don't think he really needs any, but I do believe that he needs to find the right person to fit in that position.
Yes, when I first met my spotted, double-licious angel, I can remember that damn thing like yesterday. The way she moved reminded me of a brown stallion horse with skates on, you know, smooth like a hot comb on Napa-ass hell. I walked up on her and was almost paralyzed. Her neck was smelling sweeter than a plate of yams with extra syrup. Eyes beaming like 4 carats apiece, just blinding the nigga. Felt like I cheated the whole order that presidential. My heart would beat so damn fast. Never knowing this moment would bring another life into this world. Funny how shit come together sometimes it did. One moment you frequent the booty clubs, and the next 4 years you and somebody's daughter raising your own youngin'. Now that's a beautiful thing. That's if you're on top of your game and man enough to handle real life situations, that is. Can't gamble feeding on that dope money, might not always be sufficient. But the United Parcel Service and the people at the post office didn't call you back because you had cloudy piss. So now you're back in the trap, just that. Trap. Go on and marinate on that for a minute. Yeah.
Stay in the loop.
A lot of disagreement among the defense. You had Brown, you had Tenuta, you had Weiss, you had a lot of strong personalities, and they were all conflicting. And when you have that, you're not going to have consistency from your team. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw an Irish defense that stopped somebody on goal line stands, that stopped people 2 or 3 straight games. And then for 2 or 3 straight games, this is like they didn't exist. So I think you really, ultimately, to answer your question, Kelly just needs the right guy who's experienced, who can control a team on defense, and then just have him be responsible back to Kelly.
I think, first of all, I think the reason that everybody has that concern is because we just got done having a coach who, despite 2007, we just had a coach who, by most measures, was a very good offensive coach, and we had a lot of offensive success and highlights, and the defense wasn't there. This past season, if we had a defense that was in the top 50, 30, 20, that team would have been unbelievable. And we know what it's like to have a team that can score and that can do well on offense but can't stop anybody. And we think that Kelly might be that same guy, and I think that's why people are really concerned. But he does need to have a premier defense. If you want to be one of the teams you talked about earlier, if you want to be Texas and Florida and USC, those teams all have something in common. A lot of people won't believe this. If you look at the top 10 defenses each year, it's the same. It's pretty much the same as the top 10 teams. However, the top 10 offensive teams will not be that top 10. It's going to be Boise State and Texas Tech and teams like in Cincinnati and teams
Tulsa
that
a couple of years ago.
Right, exactly.
49 points a game.
Yeah,
It's like
teams that can
TCU.
score 70 and they're going to get to a bowl game, and those teams, that's fine because they're all overachieving. Boise State overachieved for what they are every year. Hawaii in the past would be one of the top offensive teams. Utah, all of them are doing the same thing.
I have the top 10 here.
If you want to sustain yourself as a big boy, you have to be a top 10 defense, and that's what Kelly is the biggest question mark.
Big Gip, Goody Mo.
Here, Big Gip Booty Mo. Here I am, Gipper. I got the top 10 offenses, and I'll read the top 10 defenses. Top 10 offenses right now: number 1, Houston; number 2, Nevada; number 3 is Troy, fighting Trojans. We got Texas Tech at number 4. TCU is 5. Texas A&M is 6. Boise State is 7. Florida is 8. Our beloved Fighting Irish are number 9, and Idaho, the Vandals, are number 10. So there's definitely a couple teams in there are good, and most of the great teams, not the good teams, but the great teams are good at both. But here when we pull up the top 10 defenses, reflect usually the top 10.
I'm just saying the top 10 defenses will probably more closely resemble the top 10 ranked teams.
Well, here we go.
Clearly, what the list that you just read for offense was clearly not
absolutely.
top 10.
Notre Dame was in it. So,
What was Idaho?
40's bottom 10.
Idaho was 10, baby.
Idaho finished, but they finished ranked 9th, right?
I-
in the AP this year.
Hey, you know what? You can joke all you want, but if I being Notre Dame fan with Weiss as our coach, I wouldn't want to play Idaho this year because they probably would have freaking beat us.
Wax a chump like a candle.
Here's the top 10
Grab the
defenses.
mic like a band.
Top 10 defenses, and yes, was pretty right. There's a couple question marks, but most of it's pretty much dead on. TCU, number 1. Alabama, 2. Texas, 3. Florida, 4. Ohio State, 5. North Carolina, 6. Nebraska, 7. Oklahoma, 8. Penn State, 9. Iowa, 10.
I'd rather be on that list.
I'd rather be
is
on
the
that
point.
list.